For some reason, the team with the NFL's best win-loss record is surprising the national media by, well, being good. The last few weeks have proven that the media was not just making up the fact that they thought the Kansas City Chiefs were overrated. They were simply telling the truth as they saw fit. Unfortunately for them, the truth as they saw fit was a half-hearted attempt by their subconscious at making them think that whatever team it is that they root for had some sliver of a chance more than really they do. We have another article which sort of exemplifies this. It comes to us this week from The Ringer. It is titled The 4 Big Takeaways from the NFL's Christmas Day Games. Don't worry, I'm only going to highlight the things that happened in the Chiefs game, or the excerpt from this article that pertains to the Kansas City Chiefs, subtitled The NFL Came for Christmas, and thanks to Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Beyonce, it might have won. I have no idea what Beyonce has to do with anything. Something about Houston, it doesn't matter. That is an absolutely ridiculous assertion from The Ringer by Deontay Lee. This is another example of a video where what I have done is I have highlighted my own comments in addition to the text. So as we go through the article, these right here, highlighted in yellow, are the additions that I am making to or critiquing, with which I am critiquing this article. The article starts off with this headline from the portion dedicated to the Kansas City Chiefs: "It's a mistake to play overly aggressive defense against Kansas City." True. I'm going to editorialize here a little bit because it's also a mistake to show up against Kansas City. It's a mistake to play any defense against Kansas City. It's a mistake to take the field, go ahead, save yourself the disgrace, and throw in the towel beforehand. We have seen to date 15 wins and but a loss on the Kansas City Chiefs schedule. They have one loss in the last calendar year. Absolutely mind-blowing, and it's possible that regardless of how many starters show up on the field against the Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs will have an opportunity to win that game as well. The Kansas City Chiefs could go 16-1 on the season. The Kansas City Chiefs had only won 13 games in a season prior to Patrick Mahomes showing up. That was the franchise record for wins. Patrick Mahomes has won 14 games 3 times and now has won 15 games once. Something that has never been done in franchise history, something that has been done by only, I believe, 8 teams, if the statistic is in my memory correctly, in the history of the NFL. Less than 1/3 of the NFL's 32 teams as they are constituted today has won 15 games in a regular season. A little bit of an unfair stat because that does not include the Dolphins, who went 14-0 in their season, but it is what it is. The article begins thusly: "I'm not entirely sure what opposing defensive coaches are seeing on film when they prepare for the Chiefs, but I'm continually floored by the amount of man coverages that have been thrown at Patrick Mahomes over the last few weeks. Pittsburgh was at the tail end of a brutal stretch of 3 games in 11 days. And I want to give the Steelers defensive coordinator Terrell Austin some grace under those circumstances. But the Chiefs' man-heavy game plan set them up for failure. What would you have them do, sir?" Part of what they're seeing on film, these defensive coordinators playing man against the Kansas City, or playing so aggressively against the Kansas City Chiefs, is that's what they're seeing on film is that the offense now features Travis Kelce, who's known for destroying zone coverages with jazz-like route running. Travis Kelce knows where the hole in a zone is. Patrick Mahomes knows that he knows that, and he is given full authority to find the holes in coverages regardless of what anyone else on the field is doing. The additions of Hollywood Brown, who is a diminutive wide receiver, but fast, so you can overmatch him with size, and Nuke Hopkins, who is a dominant type possession receiver, or at least has shades of that today, but not the fastest man on the field at any given time. Those are 2 veterans who know how to break things off. Add to that the fact that Noah Gray is now a solid veteran. He knows what to do against man and zone, where the holes in coverages will be, and the opposition has to try to find a way to mix things up against this offense. Do you want to play them zone? Do you want to play them man? You have to keep them guessing because that is one of the few tools that you have at your disposal as a defensive coordinator. Add to that, defenses were counting on the O-line being a weakness, and going with a zone coverage adds the possibility to add a blitzer against this offense to put pressure on Mahomes. No longer, however, is that the case. The left tackle position and Joe Thuney seem to be working out just fine. I hope that DJ Humphries is back for the Broncos game because I want to see him on the field to see what it is that he has to offer. I don't think you want to go into the postseason expecting or without the expectation of that surprise. The article continues. Just like in Kansas City's win over the Texans last week, the Chiefs used motion and condensed formations against the Steelers to pick on mismatches and create traffic for defenders to run through. Tight end Travis Kelce arguably had his most productive day of the season with 84 yards and a touchdown on 11 targets. His 2.63 yards per route was his second highest mark of the season, and his connection with Mahomes is at its best when defenses try to play tight man coverage against him. Technically, that's right, but technically, his best, the way that Travis Kelce executes best, the way that connection between Mahomes and Kelce is best, is whenever Travis Kelce is on the field. You think that man coverage is not effective against Travis Kelce because he dominates against that? Look at all of the zone beating that Travis Kelce has done through his career. He leads the team in yards against man coverage this year, and the Chiefs, that's Travis Kelce, rank third in the NFL by success rate against man coverage. Now, here's part of what that is. Earlier in the season, when Xavier Worthy and Mecole Hardman were featured on the offense, the Chiefs had to rely on physical tools while the offense was changing to accommodate its diminished personnel. The Kansas City Chiefs had lost Hollywood Brown. They had lost Rashee Rice. They had to instead operate on the assumption that though the horses they had in the stable were the horses they were going to have. What that meant was you have to try to get Xavier Worthy, who was not as versed in NFL playbooks at that time, who could not read the defenses at that time, as probably he has regressed to by this point. You have to line him up and say, okay, win with your speed. Well, the NFL has ways to combat that. In those situations, you have to take advantage of those guys' speed, and what that means is oftentimes you split those guys out wider because you were trying to get them away from the traffic. What we have seen lately is the Chiefs having bunched offenses in the middle of the field. Well, here's where you have to have a little bit more nuance in your knowledge of the game as a receiver to run those type of routes because you're going to be hitting much more traffic. And the reason, in my opinion, that Andy Reid is deploying those now is with Hollywood Brown back. So here's the 53 yards that the field is wide. If I'm here, right by the boundary, all of my speed that can be utilized is this way and this way. But if that formation is tight and I'm closer to the middle of the field, I have free range like a queen on the chessboard, as opposed to one of these single directional players, the rook or not the knight, but what's the other one? The one that goes, it doesn't matter. I'm not a chess player. Anyway, your speed can be utilized in a multi-directional facet. That means the defense has to respect the mobility of the player on the field and spread their own defenders out. Because Xavier Worthy, lined up 3 yards off the tackle, can beat your cornerback to the outside, and he's done that multiple times in just the last few weeks. So you cannot be where it was you wanted to line up in order to limit his speed. The article continues thusly. Mahomes' injured right ankle looks just fine, by the way. He didn't scramble much on Wednesday, but he navigated the pocket by getting the ball out quickly, with an assist from right tackle Jawan Taylor holding his blank off during and getting away with it for most of the game. Here, I have to editorialize here. I am so tired of this talking point. If you don't believe that if the referees had any chance to call holding on Jawaan Taylor, they would take it, I don't know what to tell you. Jawaan Taylor has been penalized how many times just this season for holding in offsides? They are calling these penalties on him when they are so egregious as to be called. The way that they call these penalties on any offensive tackle in the league when they are so egregious to be called. I had respected your writing up until this point, Mr. Lee, but I cannot respect it when you make these types of arguments. This is absolutely ridiculous. But he continues. Mahomes' 2.41 second average time to throw was his fastest this year, and this Chiefs offense doesn't have to exchange explosiveness for efficiency when it's facing the style of defense it's designed to exploit. The offense is moving faster. They are getting to the line. They are snapping the ball, and Mahomes is throwing the ball quicker than had he been. They are not being lax in execution and trying to figure things out anymore. What they are trying to do is put their offense into the final form that it will have for the postseason, and that involves rhythm and timing before and after the snap. He continues this way. I'm not ready to say all is fixed for the Chiefs' passing game quite yet, but it's clear this offense is healthy and playing its best ball in December. The return of speedy receiver Hollywood Brown isn't a panacea, but it makes explosive plays easy to come by. Rookie Xavier Worthy wasn't ready for a large role within the offense, and it's easier to play to Worthy's speed when he's the third or fourth option, which seems to have always been the plan. Veteran DeAndre Hopkins hasn't been the bona fide perimeter threat the Chiefs had needed him to be when they traded for him earlier this season, but he still complements the skill position group well. In many ways, this Chiefs team reminds me of the 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers. They've surrounded Mahomes with just enough competence, and they are allowing goatness to carry them over the finish line, just like James did for the Cavs. Now, I have to be 1,000% honest with you. First off, I know nothing about basketball. Second off, I think that this is true, but it's short-selling what has happened during this time in Kansas City. The impact of Noah Gray coming into his own this season, as he has done, he has had a career year. The impact of Kareem Hunt being a legitimate bruiser, not to mention Samaje Perine becoming the receiving threat out of the backfield that he was signed to be. All of this is underestimated, and not simply by the author of this article, but by the mainstream media in general, by opposing fan bases for sure. But it also seems that opposing coaches are underestimating this aspect of the Kansas City Chiefs as well. The Kansas City Chiefs are facing game plans where opposing teams are taking away Travis Kelce. Fine. Travis Kelce likes to win. Travis Kelce does not have to be the star of the show. And if you take away Travis Kelce, allotting the resources to do so will put you at a distinct disadvantage against Hollywood Brown, Nuke Hopkins, and now Xavier Worthy. Not to mention, so here's what I am hoping to see a little bit in the playoffs. It will be interesting to see if the Kansas City Chiefs start to deploy Travis Kelce on the perimeter more, because I think that it will throw defenses for a loop with what they've been trying to do to Travis Kelce. If they are going to double him, you're taking all of those resources away from the box. And the Chiefs have, like we talked about earlier, a whole lot of ways to beat you with speed, a whole lot of ways to bruise you up with Kareem Hunt. If you were to put Travis Kelce very close to the perimeter, and he is drawing away two players, now the Chiefs have, inside the rest of their offense, 10 players to 9 defenders. That makes for a very difficult day at the office for opposing defenses. You start to look at Trey Smith and Kareem Hunt barreling down the middle of your defense because the box is one person lighter than should it have been had Travis Kelce been attached to the line. And all of a sudden, things go from bad to worse for defenses because the Kansas City Chiefs are now able to run the ball for 5 yards per clip. The article continues like this. After this win over Pittsburgh, all routes to Super Bowl 59 go through Arrowhead Stadium in the AFC. With the number 1 seed locked up, Kansas City can choose to rest its starters against Denver in Week 18 and get a bye during the wild card round before they attempt to defend their title. With the way the Chiefs' offense has been improving and the mistakes opposing defenses continue to use against them, we should get some tremendous theater this postseason. Now, I might have run a fine-tooth comb through this article and found multiple things to contend with, multiple ways to complain about the mainstream media et al. But, guys, I don't know that there is any better a place to leave this article than just that. Thank you for being here. If you want to help me out with what I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.